Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Pompiani. We're live today at Heinz Field as we get you set for Week 6 of the NFL season. It's actually the 5th game for the Steelers, who have started 4-0, as you know, for the first time since 1979. I'm Bob Pompiani. We welcome you inside Mike Tomlin's press conference, which will begin shortly, and it's a very busy week for the Steelers. They are trying to get to 5-0, but they have a team right behind them in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns, who started badly with a lopsided loss in Week 1, but they've responded with 4 straight wins. A lot of stuff going on here with regard to the Steelers. There were some guys who were banged up last week, left the games. Mike Tomlin will address, I'm sure, the injury situation with Deontay Johnson, Marquise Pouncey, as well as David DeCastro. Cleveland comes here with a lot of confidence, no question about that. They just beat Indianapolis at home. They had a pick 6 of Phil Rivers in that game. They're one of the best teams in the NFL when it comes to takeaways. And the Steelers have been good about not giving it away. So this should be a great matchup. First place is on the line. I think it's probably the biggest Browns game that they've had in the regular season since 1994 when Bill Belichick was their head coach. Mike Tomlin is getting ready to address the media, so let's go over to the South Side right now for the Mike Tomlin press conference.
Good afternoon. I'll start first with a medical update. We had a couple of guys that sustained injury in game, and their availability this week will be determined by the quality of their practice and their practice availability specifically. Those guys are David DeCastro with an abdominal strain. Marquise Pouncey has a foot injury of some kind. Is probably going to limit his practice availability at the beginning of the week, but I don't know that it's going to jeopardize his playing availability. And same with Deontay Johnson, who took a direct blow to the back. There were a couple of guys that were out in our last game who have a chance to work themselves back into rotation, those being Derek Watt and Marcus Allen. Both guys have been in the building at the early portion of this week and have run, and rehabilitation leads us to believe that they're going to be available to practice, and we'll let the quality of that practice be our guide in terms of whether we include them in the development of a plan. In review of our last game, like I said, after the game at the stadium, it wasn't a clean game by us by any stretch, but it's good to win while you learn. And hopefully we have learned from some of the things that we didn't perform at a high level in that game. And I'll start first with third down defense, like I talked about after the game. We just didn't do a good job of controlling them circumstances. And really, be quite honest with you, some of the circumstances were advantageous to us, meaning third and long. The big play pop by Miles, man, you got to first give kudos to him. But, man, they ran a draw in the 3rd and 10 into the teeth of a blitz, and we had unblocked people at the point of attack. We just got to kind of make those plays. And sometimes the process of learning is not an alteration of what it is that we do in preparation, or even in a level of attention to a detail in terms of our play, just an acknowledgement that in those weighty moments, you got to make those tackles. You got to, make the catch. You got to make the significant block. And sometimes through the course of this journey, there's some negative experiences along those lines, and they just provide reinforcement to certain things that we already know. There might not be any adjustment moving forward other than the acknowledgement of how miserable it is. That play changed the trajectory of the day for them and for us, particularly as it pertained to those possession downs, and it made it tough sledding along the way. Thankfully for us, we were controlling the possession downs on the other side of the ball as well. I thought Ben was spectacular in that regard, and really did a nice job spreading the ball around and keeping the chains moving. We were able to possess the ball, and that's what team is about. And I think that's what we're learning through this journey. We're doing it differently when we step into a stadium, and we're leaning on different strengths and working to minimize different weaknesses based on the matchup. But along the way, through at least the first quarter of the season, we found a way to consistently win in the face of that, and that's what it's about. This week, we're faced with a significant challenge, one that we're excited about because, man, we love being in the kitchen. And AFC North ball is in the kitchen. It's hot in the North, and we got an AFC North home game against the Cleveland Browns, a team that's won 4 in a row. They're 4-1 on the season. We got a lot of respect for them and their journey and where they're at in their journey, and we're excited about, the challenge that a week like this presents for us and how we manage it, how we prepare, how we're focused, and then ultimately how we play. First, talking about them on the defensive side of the ball, I think you start with Myles Garrett. We know about his freakish talent, but he's got play to match here in 2020. He's a defensive player of the year-like candidate looking at the video. He's a sack fumble guy. He's a game changer. He has in just about every game that they've played thus far. He's a guy that you have to be mindful of, not only in terms of his location, but, what he's doing and the quality and capability in which he can do it and his potential impact on the game. We just got to be really mindful of that. But he's not a one-man gang, man. They got a quality front over there with guys like Sheldon Richardson and even quality backup acquisitions like Claiborne, who I have a lot of respect for, a veteran former first-rounder. They, like a lot of 4-3 teams, they've got top-end talent, but they also got quality depth. Those guys provide the wave that the others ride, and they've got really good quality people riding that wave, man. They've acquired Carl Joseph at the safety position, a former top pick from the Oakland Raiders, former West Virginia Mountaineer, who I just absolutely love in draft prep, man. He's got a certain physicality in his play that you admire if you appreciate football. Got a lot of respect for Denzel Ward and his talents and his ball hawking abilities. They're just a very well-rounded group, and that front provides the wave that they ride. They put pressure on the passer. They smash the run. Those things, coupled with the way they control the ball on offense, allow them to really control football games. They lead the league in turnovers. And so the protection of the football is a significant component of play for us. And like I mentioned, guys like Myles and Sheldon Richardson make that a difficult task, the protection of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, man, they got some wideouts that really capture your attention, in Odell and Landry, and rightfully so. But the strength of their pack is in the pack. They've got quality depth throughout all positional groups. They got quality wideouts like the ones I mentioned. They got quality tight ends. They got a nice free agent acquisition from Atlanta and Hooper, who is a frontline volume catch guy at the tight end position. They got the former top pick out of Miami that's missed a couple of games from injury, who is back. Was back this past weekend. They got a diverse attack at the tight end position. They got quality depth at the running back position. Can't say enough about Hunt and Chubb, what they've been able to do as a tandem. Obviously, Chubb is down, but they've got a quality running game regardless who's running the ball. Their offensive line has done an awesome job in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage. That rookie left tackle is particularly impressive. He's not playing like a rookie. Conklin at right tackle is a grinder, one that we respect. They just got a well-balanced attack. They're possessing the ball. They keep you off balance. They changed the launch point. Baker's doing a good job of administering the offense, and they're playing suffocating and splash play-oriented defense. So we're excited about being in a game like this. We respect it. We want to show that respect with detailed preparation. And ultimately hoping that takes care of us when we step into the stadium and it's time to perform on Sunday. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Mark Caboli.
Hey, Mike. Two starting quarterbacks. The targets, receptions, are about the same through the first 4 games, but the penalties are. Do you think those are based off more blitzing, or what do you attribute those numbers to?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up, and I couldn't hear part of your question.
Can you hear me now?
I got you clear now.
All right. With your 2 starting cornerbacks, the targets, receptions are about the same through 4 games this year than last, but the touchdowns, penalties, yards are up for a little bit. Do you think those are based off you guys blitzing more, or what do you attribute that to?
I just attribute it to a 4-game sample size. Keep watching. We'll continue to write our story, particularly as it pertains to comparing it to a 16-game body of work from a year ago. If you took a sample size of our body of work last year at this time through 4 games, it was miserable, I think. And so we're very much in development, and I like the overall trajectory of our group in the corners, and we're just going to keep working.
Brooke Pryor.
Hey, Mike, I know you just gave us a long rundown of the Browns and what you're seeing in this team, but how are they different from Browns teams of years past? Do they have a different feel to what they're doing and the momentum that they bring into this game?
I don't have the answer to that people that are inside that building are better equipped to answer that, guys that have been a part of it. I respect what they're doing and what they've done here in 2020. And really, I focus my energies on this group and what they're capable of. I just don't have a lot of time during the course of a game week to kind of paint with that broad of a brush or have that type of perspective. They got some new acquisitions and some new developments, particularly in their coaching staff with Coach Stefanski and Coach Woods on the defensive side of the ball, that really has my attention. There just hasn't been a lot of time for that kind of reflection.
Jerry Dulac.
Hey, Mike, you're playing with the lead a whole lot more frequently than you did last year. What does that allow you to do, both offensively and defensively?
You're able to maintain balance, and that is our desired approach offensively. When time becomes of the essence and you're behind in games, you don't always have control over that. So the ability to maintain balance thoughtfully, the ability to remain thoughtfully non-rhythmic, if you will, offensively, I think is good. Also, to be able to discourage people from running the ball like you're capable of doing when you're not behind it is good. And so I just think that those are natural things relative to the question you asked, but they're not exclusive to us or our circumstance. I think that would apply to anybody who's playing with the lead as opposed to someone that's coming from behind.
Dale Lawley.
Mike, Ben has been pretty critical of his own play thus far this season. What's your assessment of it? 1 turnover, 10 touchdown passes in the first 4 games. It just seems like he is maybe being overly critical of himself.
I think he's very mentally sharp. I think sometimes, when you have the perspective that he has now, he watched the bulk of football, in 2019. And oftentimes when you get removed from your role and you get to watch it from a different perspective, it might change your perspective on performance and evaluation thereof. So, I'm not displeased with the overall trajectory of his play. I like the fact that he's being critical of his performance. I also like where he is from a mental standpoint right now. And we're just going to continue to work and knock the rust off and gain the rhythm that we're accustomed to seeing from him. And hopefully we better continue to win while we do that.
Tim Benz.
Mike used the phrase mindful of his location when talking about Myles Garrett. How often has that location been over the right guard or even bumping inside a little bit more to exploit the center since your starters are injured and might have some depth issues at those positions this week?
I think it might be subject to a lot of discussions. It appears that he moves around more when 54 isn't playing. For example, sometimes it might be relative to their people. Sometimes it might be the structure of the call. They got some solid fronts where they cover up your interior 3 and he plays over a guard. Sometimes it may be situational, as you mentioned, relative to one-on-one pass matchups. I know regardless of what the reason might be, we better be cognizant of his movement and